Now, what we've all been waiting for, Josh, is the input of Kim Kardashian. The reality TV star described immigration and customs enforcement deportation raids as inhumane, and that prompted a top Department of Homeland Security official to fire back. Assistant DHS Secretary Tricia McLaughlin wrote on X, Kim Kardashian, which one of these convicted child molesters, murderers, drug traffickers and rapists would you like to stay in the country? And she also included with that post mugshots and the profiles of the criminality of these 4 illegal immigrants that were recently nabbed in ICE enforcement operations. Josh, it's good to see people within the administration, people within the bureaucracy hitting back at these celebrities who mouth off, and they often do that with little consequence.
Yeah, I'm smiling over here, Rita, because I can't help but think back to the very first GOP presidential primary debate of the 2016 presidential cycle. This takes us all the way back to August of 2015, just about a decade ago. And Donald Trump has this kind of infamous attack on Rosie O'Donnell, of all people, right? It was a very memorable exchange. But Donald Trump and all the people that he surrounds himself with, they have never been afraid to take on high-profile celebrities there. Kim Kardashian these days, I suppose, blows Rosie O'Donnell out of the water as far as pop culture gravitas is concerned there. So no, they're not afraid whatsoever to take on big interests, whether those big interests are in big pharma, whether those interests are in big tech or big Hollywood or big media, big academia, big university, big Life of the Kardashians, whatever the reality show is called there, that I don't particularly claim to care to watch, to be honest with you there. But they're not afraid. They're not afraid to get in the mud there for the very simple reason that, on the one hand, these celebrities are a very convenient political foil because they quite literally live out of touch in their gated communities with their private guards. You know, Kim Kardashian is not experiencing what the blue-collar, oftentimes, by the way, oftentimes Hispanic working class people in places like downtown Los Angeles, Kim Kardashian in Malibu or wherever the heck she's living, she is not experiencing what those people in downtown Los Angeles are experiencing there. And then on the other hand there, you know, people like Tricia McLaughlin and the US DHS, they know that the American people side with them. So it's good politics, it's good policy, and they're doing very well actually on this score.
Now, Josh, on those protests in blue cities, Republican Senator Josh Holl launched an investigation into a left-wing group in California that he says may be financially supporting violent protests in LA. What more can you tell me about this? Because there is a lot of conjecture that there is organisation and funding behind these protests.
So we don't know a ton yet, is the very short and honest answer. I'm hoping to learn more. I was very happy to see that Senator Holl is putting out this notice of investigation there. And this is the sort of thing that the federal government should be investigating there. Congress has the subpoena power. DHS, DOJ have a lot of powers at their disposal within the bureaucracy of the executive branch as well. Now, we do know that whether it comes to the 2020 Black Lives Matter Antifa riots, whether it comes to the post-October 7th pro-Hamas riots on American university campuses, we definitely do know that there have been outside funders. We just don't know to this day exactly the constellation of entities there. We highly suspect that individuals like George Soros are involved. There are very shady left-wing organizations. One is known as Arabella Advisors. They are known to kind of try to mobilize activist left-wing organizations. But the left has a very complicated network, Rita. Unfortunately, actually, the recent murderer of the 2 Israeli diplomats in Washington, D.C. was actually very involved in some of these far-left grassroots circles as well. It's an extraordinarily shady picture, actually. And I think, actually, this is not talked about very frequently, but one of the most important imperatives for people on the right in America right now, especially when it comes to investigative journalists who really have the wherewithal and the chops to actually do this, I think to try to kind of systematically break down some of these very sketchy left-wing organizations there, try to actually find out where the bank accounts are coming from, try to find out who is dropping off in mysterious 3 a.m. truckload overnight fashion, who is actually dropping off the body armor and the vests and the Kevlar helmets, you know, at the bus station in Los Angeles, and basically telling these people, okay, here's what you need to go ahead and then stand up to the man, stand up to the LAPD. Again, we don't actually know to this day exactly who is funding this, but we see it out in the open, and it's been happening for a long time now. I distinctly remember this exact same sort of thing happening in those first few months of the 2020 George Floyd riots there. So it's been going on for a long time there. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten a whole lot in answering this question, but I'm happy that Josh Hawley's on the case.
Yeah, I think it's finally time to have a little bit of a real investigation into what's happened there, because there's now an appetite to actually find out the truth. The FBI is interested, certainly the Justice Department will be interested, and Senator Holl is going to be pushing this hard. Now, today on Lighter News, the President and the First Lady were at the Kennedy Centre to see Les Mis, and he was not one bit fazed, Donald Trump, with the prospect of actors boycotting the event.
It's been reported that some actors may be boycotting tonight.
I couldn't care less, honestly. All I do is run the country well. The economic numbers, you saw them today, they're setting records. We took $88 billion in tariffs in 2 months, far beyond what anybody expected. There's no inflation. People are happy. People are wealthy. The country is getting back to strength again. That's what I care about. And we're going to have a safe country.
Josh, this was the President's first visit to the Kennedy Centre since he became its chairman back in February. He said that he's going to restore it to its former glory. And the reports are there was a little bit of booing, but mainly cheers and even chants of USA throughout the arena.
Yeah, well, this is why he's president of the United States, right? Is that he is able to say with a straight face and in quite humorous fashion, I might add, he's able to say, I couldn't care less when it comes to the possibility of a boycott from these presumably overpaid actors to go up there and emote and gesticulate and make all these things about how Donald Trump is an evil fascist or whatever there. I mean, I think back as well to when Donald Trump signed his most recent iteration of the travel ban, putting limited or full restrictions on entry into the United States from 12 countries throughout the world there. And he has this kind of video that he records sitting at the Resolute desk in the Oval Office in the White House, and he looks at the camera and says, "We don't want them." I mean, what a common sense sentiment. We don't want them. We don't want them. I couldn't care less. This is why Donald Trump is president. He has this innate kind of inherent political appeal to Joe Workingman. He is really kind of the class trader billionaire, the guy who has made oodles of money and has made a global brand icon for himself. But the way that he speaks, the way that he acts just directly resonates heart to heart with the working men and women of America there. This clip is getting another example of that, I think.
It's amazing that a billionaire is so relatable, and a billionaire who's led the life he's led. Now, the New York Post reports President Trump has been receptive to Elon Musk's apology for that X meltdown. Musk admitted he had gone too far in his personal attacks. No kidding, mate. President Trump told the Post, "I thought it was very nice that he did that." But Josh, the president wasn't willing to say that he'd let bygones be bygones with the Tesla SpaceX CEO. And I don't think that's a surprise. For Musk to do that so publicly, it's going to take a lot for that trust to be restored.
Yeah, I mean, to put it mildly, I mean, Elon overreacted would probably be the most polite way I can put it there. I mean, he took a personal, he took a policy disagreement. He took a very reasonable disagreement over the so-called big, beautiful bill and whether or not this is the best way to be appropriating funds there, whether or not it should be a committee by committee, one big bill. Okay, whatever. That's a legitimate debate that people on the right can definitely have with it themselves. But he took it so personally, and the way that he reacted there, I mean, essentially calling Donald Trump a pedophile by talking about the Epstein files there.
Oh, no.
I mean, not an easy thing to walk back into right there. Having said that, I appreciate the instinct. I appreciate the instinct to try to walk back, to try to make amends. It's frankly very gracious of Donald Trump if he is willing to kind of just let bygones be bygones after such a short period of time. It's best for the right. It is best for the American right. And as someone who wants the American right to succeed, this is where ultimately I come down. It is best for the American right to try to get these two titans to try to let bygones be bygones there, but easier said than done because, again, Elon Musk dramatically overreacted here. But the guy's the wealthiest man in the world. And think of it this way, Rita. If you are Donald Trump, if you are MAGA, if you are the America First movement, if you are the Republican Party, et cetera, and so forth there, you don't want to alienate Elon Musk. You ultimately do want Elon Musk on your side for pure kind of cynical funding reasons, if nothing else there. So that's ultimately where I come down. And it seems like Donald Trump seems to agree with that there. But boy, he's being very gracious because Elon Musk has some very nasty things, to put it mildly.
I agree with you. I think the right need those two to kiss and make up. But then the fact that Elon has the capacity to have a meltdown like this publicly on X. If this was a meltdown behind closed doors, then it's another thing. But for him to take it and just completely lose it publicly, I think it's going to take a lot for that trust to be restored. But you don't want him to be writing those checks for billions to the Democrats, because he has been a lifelong Democrat up until recently, Josh. He was red-pilled, and I think that's authentic. I don't think that was opportunistic. I think his politics and his worldview has changed dramatically, and other than that little meltdown, he has been pretty sound for the MAGA movement. Josh Hammer, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Rita.